See!
A new decade had dawned. Margaret Thatcher was only a few months into her new job, and it wasn't going well. The surveyor of the Queen's pictures had just been exposed as a Russian spy, and people were stripping off on the country's first nudist beach. But on a cold Saturday night in February, the eyes of Britain were focused on a small cabaret club in Stoke-on-Trent, where two young lions were about to take the game of darts out of the barroom and into the ballroom.
The crowd was fantastic. You know, Bristow, Bobby Joe.
Bristow, Bobby, George, Eric, Bristow, but well, that never happened in darts.
It's like having a ringside seat at the Coliseum.
It changed darts. The viewing figures went up. People at home realised there was a lot of skill in darts and there was good dart players out there. But they knew there was characters there.
A traditional working-class pub game had become a national obsession, appealing to both genders.
I love to beat any man anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And crossing the class divide.
Let's have a jolly old game of darts, bing! Let's have a jolly old game of darts, bing!
On its tiny scale, it is elemental, with a thrilling milieu. It's really sort of tiddlywinks in a bear pit.
Double 14. Yes!
And it was television that for 2 decades launched darts into our living rooms, elevating its larger-than-life players into legends and turning its commentators into household names.
I'm going to enjoy this. I think you will too.
This is the story of those years, the pivotal games, the people and players who transformed a pub pastime into a sporting spectacle like no other. Darts has always had a reputation as the people's game.
It's a working man's game. It's a poor man's game. It's a play of their jacket on. Not because they was cold in the pub, they just couldn't afford to anyone nick their coat.
But as the 1970s dawned, this poor man's pursuit was beginning to take on a different image. Here in the pubs and clubs of the Rhondda Valley, there was talk of a darting prodigy who was single-handedly changing the face of the game.
This eager, restless crowd has paid 50 pence a head to fill this cinema hall in South Wales to capacity. But they're not here to see a film, nor are they here for bingo. They've paid, quite simply, to see this man. He's Alan Evans, and in the villages and towns of the Rhondda, Alan is little short of a god. And this is why.
Alan Evans would say what he was going to do, and he did it. I saw him play an exhibition or a challenge match, and he said, I'm going to hit 1,280s tonight. He said, and if I do, will you all put money into these collection jars? He said, and if I don't hit 12, I'll put £50 in, which was a lot of money then. He hit 1,280s before the last leg.
And soon, the legend of Evans the Arrow would spread far and wide beyond the valleys. Evans was following in a rich tradition of darts exhibition players, like Londoner Joe Hitchcock, who in the post-war years had held crowds with his skill and dexterity, and not only with darts.
It's a tribute to Joe's wizardry that there's no shortage of volunteers to help him demonstrate his skill.
And if Hitchcock's sideshow trickery seemed a cheapening of the proud art of darts, then it was actually much closer to the game's origins than you might think.
The origin of the modern game of darts is traditionally lost in the mists of alehouse smoke. But what happened in the mid-Victorian period was that fairground showmen brought across to Britain a traditional French game called fléchettes. The implements you would use were these little items, imported from France in great numbers, just made of wood with turkey feather flights and a point. So these would have been used in fairgrounds for a period of between 80 and 90 years. And I also remember when I was a child in the 50s, going to the fairground and playing with these, and they were always known as French darts.
In Joe Hitchcock's day, the highlight of each darts season was the News of the World Individual Championship, which had started modestly in 1927, but by the early 1970s was drawing in 500,000 entrants.
The one to win in them days was definitely the News of the World. Best of 3, 501 from 8 foot, on a wooden board, on an elm board, which is slightly smaller than the trebles and the doubles, but on elm boards. And it's a lovely feeling to play in front of thousands and thousands of people and play darts to your ability.
In April 1972, London Weekend Television's World of Sport took the bold decision to cover the grand finals of the News of the World Championship from Alexandra Palace, the first time a major darts tournament had ever been fully televised in this country.
For the amateur dart thrower, this is Valhalla.
And it was that 5'2" Welshman from the Ronda, Alan Evans, in a dragon red sweatshirt and Cuban heels, who stole the show when he blitzed the reigning champion Dennis Filkins in front of 12,000 devoted fans supping cans of ale and brandishing leeks. With a record 7 million people tuning in to watch his exploits on World of Sport, Evans the Arrow now became the first hero of darts' television age. And in what was becoming an era of Welsh sporting brilliance, Alan Evans turned full professional and was soon joined at the top by his friend and fellow countryman, Leighton Rees.
The guys that influenced me on the actual dartboard itself, first of all, was Alan Evans and Leighton Rees. Leighton had the best style, but Evans had the fiery will, and if he was playing today, sadly he's gone now, but if he was playing today, he'd be a force to be reckoned with.
What Evans showed to both his fellow players and to darts fans was that darts was more than just a pub pastime. It was an aspirational career.
I get well paid for my exhibition, so I can really allow to pay a driver every week. I like a few pints, so sometimes I have over the few. And then you've always got the breathalyzer coming into it. So some people might think it's just a show, but it's not really.
I always class darts like boxing. Like normal people have got a chance to box and earn money and get out of the ghetto where they come from or the bad area where they live. Darts is exactly the same.
Bristow was the cocky young hustler from North London who'd taken up arrows instead of a life of crime and believed he could conquer the world. From the outset, he had a steely resolve to win.
What I loved about the darts is it's me against you, and I'm better than you. So that's the end of it. And you think you're better than me, but I'm going to prove that you're not.
He'd been bred for darting glory.
My dad put a dartboard in my bedroom when I was 11. The dartboard just intrigued me. Different numbers, different ways to go, and just play for hours and hours and hours. And then my fingers stick it out. And then my dad said at 14 and a half I was, he said, "You ready?" Obviously he's going to take me down the pub. He said, "I don't want you playing like that down the pub." I said, "What do you mean playing like that down, sticking your finger out?" He's a bit worried about his son and having his little finger out, you know what I mean? My mum quite likes it. It's like drinking a cup of tea, you know what I mean? There's thousands of people all over the world still doing it now with their fingers out. I think it's going to make them any better. Yeah, you've got to be gifted, son.
And his gift was put to good use down the local.
I used to play for sixpence a game, tanner a game. And I played my dad first, and then somebody chalked it, and then I'd play him. And while that was going on, people coming in the pub, put an E up, a B up, and a C up, and then you have a long list of names. And then I played from 12 till 2:15, and I never lost a game, and I had a pocket full of tanners.
Tanners were good, but tenors were better. And wannabe professionals began to roam the country, taking on all-comers for high stakes in Super League tournaments, holiday camp competitions, and after-hours money races.
There's pub in Walthamstow, we used to meet up, there's Eric, there was myself, there was all top dart players, and we used to have money races afterwards. And the money races, you'd put a guy up who you thought was good and play a game 3001. You know, I used to love it. It was a buzz.
Me and my dad just went around. When I got there, a bloke says to me, do you want to play this guy for £1,000? I said, well, you got £1,000 on us, you know what I mean? He said, well, we'll put the money up. And these blokes, they said, if you beat him, we'll give you 500 quid. I said, fair enough. Well, they had £2,000 side bets on it.
Even professionals like Alan Evans and Leighton Rees wanted a piece of the action.
My introduction to the big league, if you'd like, was playing for Leighton Rees at Mardy Workmen's Hall. As much as £4,000 we were playing for. Not our money, the punters' money. They would queue, make 2 queues, and they put money on me, and if the book was full on me, they'd jump over and have a bet on the other side. That's how it all started.
All this might suggest arrow slingers wandering from pub to pub in a lawless world of darts. But these shootouts were taking place in the most regulated period the game had ever seen. And this was down to the British Darts Organisation, a new governing body set up in January 1973 at the London home of businessman Ollie Croft.
I had ambitions of doing what we were aiming to do. We had 2 years of meetings in this room with delegates from these different counties. We started off with 10 counties, and the following year we had 20, and then 31, then 43, went up until we finished up with 69 counties throughout Great Britain.
Another man who shared Ollie's vision of a big future for the game and had marvelled at Alan Evans' darting prowess on World of Sport the previous year was a young documentary producer from Yorkshire Television. His name was Sid Waddell, and what he witnessed that day convinced him that televised darts was the coming thing. Looking to build on World of Sport's success, Waddell reported back to his bosses at Yorkshire Television, and together they cooked up a tribute to the unsung heroes and heroines of the taproom, a pub Olympics.
Now then, today the Grand Prix of the Indoor League, men's darts.
I watched the Indoor League when I was 16. I used to play with my mate Eddie Racing in the pub, and they'd come on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, bloody hell, darts on TV.
So this is Evans, a great little player. He wants double top, and I must keep my big mouth shut.
And the people that were coming on TV, I'd beat for money. Most of them, you know what I mean? And some of them wouldn't play me again. So I said, how the hell do I get on there?
He soon got his chance.
180! There we go.
I always remember being on it, and this one year they put up £180 for every 180 scored. And Eric Bristow and myself were pretty good friends, and we said, I think we'll share that. And they hadn't got enough money to pay us. I think Eric at about 15, I'm not quite sure. I contributed, but not as many as Eric.
The Indoor League may have come across as a sweaty celebration of all things male, but it also showcased the ladies' game.
If you think that all a woman should throw is spuds into a sink, then just keep your eyes peeled on these two.
150 quid on the end of this when they get to the final. The first major televised darts competition for ladies. And really these girls have shown an awful lot of skill and expertise.
When it came on the television, that was really something else. You know, we're all glued to the TV to watch the ladies dart. And of course, you think, yes, I could do that, you know.
Maureen Flowers was to blaze a trail for ladies darts during the late 70s, captaining the first England ladies team and also giving the men a run for their money.
I could bowl my own with a good man play. And to actually beat the professionals was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I love to beat any man anyway.
She beat loads of them. She was that good. She used to beat all these top players abroad and that. All the men respected her, you know what I mean? You didn't want to play Maureen.
And whilst the ladies' game was getting off the ground, the men's game was positively soaring, attracting sponsors and a steady stream of new tournaments, offering cars and big cash prizes. Televised darts still posed the eternal question, was this a sport or a spectacle? But in 1977, one BBC Sport producer realised that all it needed was the proper treatment.
The snooker had started to take off, and the controller, Aubrey Singer, said to me almost as a joke, "You haven't got another sport like that, have you think could do well?" And I said, "Yes, the darts." So he looked at me, because darts to him was, you know, here you go in the pub, and saw I was serious and said, "If you're serious, I'll give it a go." So I said, so he did. And I rang Ollie Croft up and said, "Have you got a world championship?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, you have now, because BBC Two will cover it." And we worked on it from there.
The first Embassy World Darts Championship kicked off on the 6th of February 1978 from the heart of the Midlands nightclub in Nottingham. The winner stood to net £3,000. Cameras now took viewers far closer to the action than ever before, but for all the skill on show, filming it posed tricky problems.
Darts is probably the hardest sport to film. It's fast, quick.
If you drop in concentration at all, I mean, you're down amongst the dead men. You know, you're going to miss out shots and doubles. It takes a lot of concentration.
And certain players' styles proved hard to capture.
Double 18. Yes, he's done it.
You got Kerry Morgan. He looked like he throwed hand grenades at you. I mean, the style was unbelievable. He beat me in the British professional final, right? And I'm going like ton. He's going 26. I go ton. I thought he's easy. Go 180 like that. You know, he used to put you off. He only done me.
Nick Hunter, directing the live feed in the scanner truck, felt that a vital ingredient was missing and was determined to show the players' faces.
Darts was being covered largely with too many close-ups of the board while the player out of shot was throwing the dart. I can see why that was happening, because if you cover one shot for a throw, one shot for the board, one shot, it's sort of 6 shots every time a player throws his 3 darts. If they're fast, it's, you know, the viewer at home's watching shots. And after 2 days of it, I thought, this is no good. And apart from my finger, which was almost worn down to the quick, because I was just cutting backwards and forwards. And I was wondering how on earth I could stop this cutting. There were viewers complaining, and you know in your bones it's not working very well. So we had a bit of a meeting, and in the end, cameraman said, "Well, why don't you split the screen?"
Game on.
So dare one say it, he ought to be favourite because he gets the first throw.
And on the split screen, you can see the face, you can see the board, and it made all the difference. It made it easier to cover and better to cover at the same time, which is quite rare.
100.
You could watch a player start to lose it.
60.
Or the opposite, if you like. You could watch a player gradually realising he's getting in control of the match. And that's a precious part of that split screen.
And as well as transforming the look of televised darts, Nick Hunter was also to unleash a new and unorthodox commentator on an unsuspecting public. None other than the producer of the Indoor League, Sid Waddell.
His enthusiasm and his knowledge of the game shone through, and I gave him a go.
But a right hole in it left himself a double.
Waddell was an enigma. A Northumbrian miner's son who'd won a scholarship to Cambridge and brought his Geordie exuberance to his commentary, which was full of puns and pumped-up scene setting.
There was less noise when Pompeii was swamped in lava.
His legendary one-liners would endear him to darts fans and players alike.
He dug deep into it. He just didn't come along and just commentate. He felt for you.
Earning him the sobriquet, the voice of darts.
The atmosphere that crossed between the Munich Beer Festival and the Colosseum when the Christians were on the menu.
Sid needed a bit of controlling, really. He'd come out with the odd remark which would shiver me timbers, and I'd have to go out and have a word with him. And we had a battle or two. I think we were both right, really. He wanted to lighten it up and do it his way, and I didn't want him charging around like a bull in a china shop.
to see Leighton Rees beat John Lowe in the final, split-screen darts and Sid Waddell's colourful Geordie lip had proved a hit combo.
Double Tops to take the world's major prize.
And in the week following the match, high street sports shops sold out of darts equipment. The following year saw Lowe and Rees reach the final again, but this time it was Lowe who triumphed.
Savouring the moment. Double 10. Yes! Game shot! The grin of the champion. The new champion being congratulated by the...
To win the Embassy was quite phenomenal, to be quite honest. Ray Reardon, the snooker player, was world champion, and he presented me with a trophy, and it was the biggest part of my career. It set me off on a run that has never really stopped.
If Rees and Lowe swapping trophies made it seem like the Embassy Championship was a two-horse race, then the third year's dream final would give us two new contenders, now sporting catchy stage names. The Bobby Dazzler was riding high after winning the News of the World Championship.
I won that one. That made me. Diana Dawes gave me the trophy, bless her. And she loved a pint of lager, that girl. She drank a pint of lager.
And his opponent, the crafty Cockney, was still smarting from his run-in with arch-rival Alan Evans the previous year.
Well, the thing is, Eric, you're so easy to beat.
No problem.
It's easy. When we play you, we know there's no danger. We have to worry at all.
The showdown at Jolly's Cabaret Club will be just the ticket for the telly.
Well, I'd advise you to sit on the edge of your seat, because I'm sitting on the edge of mine as the gladiators come out. And don't blink. Don't even blink, because I think these two will go off like guided missiles.
You can see the difference between the two world finals before, and then it's all of a sudden you had the two gobs in the final.
There were the glittery shirts, which I took from the ice skaters, because I thought it would make the game more theatrical and people would watch it.
Welcome back on stage, Bobby Jones. The other contender in his finals, Eric Bristow.
We got the audience more involved. I was sort of like the good-looking one, and Eric was the ugly one. And he was mouthy and all that, but that's the way he was. If he didn't mouth off, he couldn't play.
4-3 up and 1-0.
Yeah, up there when you hit the double. We started all that.
We always to wind each other in all the time, you know what I mean? Yeah, but he had B and a G there, and I said, big girl, I've put another B on the back, big girl's blouse.
They was booing Eric at one time, really bad, and I said, no, come on. If I'd known what he was going to turn out, I should have been calm on more, you know, but there you are.
But for all the posturing and posing, there was still a game of darts to be played.
Double 18, fantastic! Double 14. Yes! 2-1!
The first half was my half, and I should have kept that up. It was a close game all the way through. It wasn't one-sided.
Yes! Bristow 2, Bobby George 0 in the 7th set. It's going some now is Bristow. 180! What they came to see. Bobby George fighting for his life here at Jolly's Club.
After 2 hours, the match was delicately poised. Bobby needed a leg to tie the match. Eric needed it for the championship.
If that man in red gets this set, he's the new champion. Game on, ladies and gentlemen, please.
It was a good game. It was like most of the sets went to 3-2. He played well. We both knew each other for a long time. I mean, I used to play pairs with him when I was like 16. So it's not as if we didn't know each other's game inside out.
This is George's chance. 60. Not enough, I don't think. He's He's coming down for the treble 19.
59.
Just missed.
Well, Bobby require 141.
Bobby's got a chance. There's the 3-dart shot. He's got the 60. Treble 15. Lovely shot.
23.
Treble 16 left me 2 9s.
18 means double 9, and the set to level it up.
Bobby, you require
4-4.
18. Best of order, please.
So he got his shot, and he went big 9. It was a proper 9, it was it. And then he went for single 1.
So in my mind, I said, whatever you do, don't hit the 20.
Nice. Oh, good one. 1.
Bang, straight in the middle.
Score.
That says it all.
If the army must have laughed his head off, he got double top left, hadn't he? To win the match.
Instead of thinking about the next set, all of a sudden, bang, I'm in there. This is my chance now. All this running through really quick. Right there, you've got a chance before you expected it. Take it. You only might get one shot at this in your whole life.
The crafty Cockney Eric Bristow, rated number 1 in the world,
Order, please, ladies and gentlemen.
needs a single double to become the world champion.
I thought, that's it, I'll put the darts away. Well, he ain't going to miss it. And I thought, no, it's round 4. I'll give it to him now.
I went to 21st dart, and I thought, bloody hell, don't go to the last dart.
It's double 10. Eric Bristow from Stoke Newington becomes the 1980 Embassy Professional Champion of the World.
Yeah, all them years and years of practice, just worth it. Then won it. Best double 10 I ever hit.
More than 8 million had tuned in to watch the unfolding drama. The TV close-up had come into its own, and the game was on the crest of a wave. But it wasn't the first time the country had gone darts mad.
Anywhere from Mayfair to a pub down Wigan Way, when folks get together, you will always hear them say, let's have a jolly old game of darts, bing. Let's have a jolly old game of darts, bing. First you get a double, then right off you go, but you needn't trouble if you don't know how to throw.
In the late 1930s, with the game already the lifeblood of the British pub, darts had witnessed a short but spectacular craze amongst the middle and upper classes. It peaked in December 1937 when the King and Queen paid a visit to Slough Trading Estate, where they took in a darts demonstration. The Queen asked if she could have a go and stepped regally onto the oche. She scored a total of 21. The King felt confident. Single 7, single 3, single 9. He announced his wife the winner, whereupon she smiled and declared darts a very sporty game. This royal endorsement seemed to suggest that darts was for everyone. It became a cosmopolitan fad, with soirees of darts and dancing, and even dart saloons, where you'd be given instruction and have your arrows retrieved by a darting attendant.
Increased mobility meant that some of the bright young things were able to travel out to countryside pubs. They would invade the public bar and play the locals at the game of darts and find it fascinating.
Put a little gladness in your hearts. Yesterday at tea, Crosby said to me, let's have a jolly old game of darts. Bing!
And 50 years on, this jolly old game still seemed to be a bit of amusing working-class whimsy to the upper echelons.
Someone who's being pushed around in most of the papers today, it seems, is Prince Edward. He's really got front-page treatment, hasn't he, for allegedly interrupting a darts match in a pub in Cambridge.
Yes, there was the poor chap in with 5 friends in a pub, and clearly they interrupted a very serious darts match. And we all know how important those events are.
Thank you for mentioning darts. Jonathan Miller here wants to say something about darts. Don't ask me what.
Well,
What do you want to say about darts?
Well, in fact, I have no remark to make about darts as such. It doesn't really interest me. But the thing that fascinates me is the presentation of darts on television. It's that split screen which you get, which reveals something very fascinating about human behaviour. Have you noticed that when the act of concentration is at its highest, there are very strange and irrelevant movements of the mouth and face, which are absolutely characteristic of each person?
45.
The TV cameras had now put the darts player's lifestyle under close scrutiny.
Television can make you or break you, really. Especially the close-ups.
And all the pints and pot-bellied polyester were easy pickings for a new wave of comedy talent.
Game on. So it's Fat Belly to go first. Right, it's a good start. Double vodka. Single pint.
They'd done that sketch just after the final of 1980. And me and Eric was like an hat pin with a dart. He was right thin, wasn't he? I had a really good physique, so there was no fat on me, and there was no fat on Eric. But because Leighton Rees was, say, chubby and jockey, they picked that. That's the sort of image that they tried to give it. They took the piss out of the game, but I think it backfired on, personally. I thought it was humorous, and it was wrong, because we're not all like that.
It wasn't just the sketch shows that irritated the leading players.
I think Leighton Rees is well on the way to another record. That's his 5th point already.
The TV took the mickey out of us. They didn't really look after us then. You used to have bad shots on the TV of somebody having a pint and closing in on it. And really, they didn't have a lot of respect for us, looking back on it. Well, we knew that then.
They made no secret of what they were doing in between throwing darts or at the end of a leg. So, I mean, you could see it happening. I mean, you don't avoid the shot. I mean, you avoid the close-ups, perhaps, but you can't pretend it's not happening.
The image that TV projected of these outsized characters, together with the brash spectacle of the game, was a great stimulus to one of the decade's leading novelists.
I'd watched a great deal of it on TV, and we're talking about an era, perhaps early 80s, where, you know, it was a very mercurial atmosphere at these events, where Eric Bristow, who's the biggest sort of rabble-rouser of them all, marvellously sort of arrogant.
Double 8 for the set.
Game set in the 4th set to Eric Bristow. If the crowd was having a go at him, he would stand waiting to throw, and he would detach his underpants from his bum crack, basically, in a quite a vivid and energetic gesture, which was showing what he thought of the audience, and then the temperature would go up again.
Once you've seen Eric, you didn't forget him, did you? You know, I mean, he was that kind of a person. They'd be booing him and he'd be going, come on, I can't hear you, you know, and they'd go crazy. He just loved it. He loved people having a go at him.
Maureen and Eric were now an item. The king of arrows had met his queen of darts.
It was like Burton and Taylor going out, you know. Oh dear, they were the stars of the time.
Barracking or what?
Top dart stars had become not just household names, but light entertainment celebrities.
I want him to put his head next to the dartboard, and I want to throw 6 darts.
If we were going to have a game, we could pay for a bit of stakes, you know?
Well, that'd be handy, yeah. How much you want to lose?
They even made it onto Top of the Pops. Yes, that's darter Jockey Wilson, beaming out from the screen as Dexys Midnight Runners belt out their homage to soul singer Jackie Wilson.
The tension showing on Jockey's face.
Jockey had won the 1982 Embassy World Championship in some style.
One dart could give him the World Championship double 16.
They'll be singing, they'll be howling, flinging.
Scotland for this lad. Didn't he do well?
And by the following year, it seemed a dead cert that either Wilson, Bristow or Lowe, the top 3 ranked players in the world, would take the title. But 1983 would take everyone by surprise.
In my opinion, the greatest game I've ever seen, without a shadow of a doubt. Eric Bristow and Keith Deller. It was magic, absolute magic.
Deller was a 23-year-old unseeded qualifier and the first qualifier ever to reach a final.
He beat, I think, Nicky Vreshko, I think he beat Joggy Wilson, he beat Lowe, John Lowe. So he's beat the top guys in the world, and he's playing Bristow in the final.
Don't get me wrong, beating John and Jockey was great, but Eric was the main man, and if you're going to beat anybody at that time, you wanted to beat Eric in a final. And my hand, I just knew, my heart was pounding.
The 1983 World Professional Championship, first set, first leg, Keith Deller to throw first. Game on.
The joint is jumping, the scene is set. Bullseye.
Game shot, that's the first set to Keith Deller.
Eric, the crafty Cockney, he thought he was on a winner.
Tops for Deller.
To Keith Deller.
The Deller rampage
180!
What a darts player.
And as the game went on, his head was going down a little. What's happening here?
Thankfully, I was 2-1 up at the break, and I thought then, I'm 2-1 up now, and Eric's got 2 hours now to think that he's not going to get it all his own way.
A salute
to Eric Bristow.
I thought I got him because he had 7 darts at a double to beat me earlier on.
64 to be champion of the world.
The 64 that I missed, I could feel my lip, my hand was starting to shake a little bit.
Double 16 for the title.
When he's got 3 darts in his hand, he's thinking about, I can win this now, I can win this now.
93. Double 9 for the world title. 1. Double 4 for the title.
The 2 on double 2 were right on the wire.
For the title, double 2.
And the one went across the other side of the wire. And I thought, Jesus, that was a great chance.
Everybody's getting the jitters now.
Yes, that's the 9th set to
And then Eric went, like that, laughing, just to sort of get in my head a little bit. And the next set, I didn't even see it. I lost 3-0 because I was still annoyed.
Top,
yes! That's the 10th set to Eric Bristow.
Doing a Mick Jagger on the stage.
And then I lost the first leg with my darts in the deciding set. And I just said to myself, right, you've done so well, just give it a go.
Keith requires 68.
16 for Deller.
Yes, that's the 3rd leg to Keith Deller.
At 2 legs to 1 in the final set, Deller needed 1 more leg to become champion. He decided to play the board and not the man.
Deller takes this leg. He becomes world champion.
123.
And then I made a bit of a boo-boo.
Got to get this leg, Bristow. Bullseye. Played the percentage shot.
89.
He wanted 138. And I thought, well, he bowled it earlier on with 3 darts in his hand, twice, you know what I mean? And I thought 138's are like bang, bang, bang. It's like all over the place. Like if you wanted 136, 60, 60, double 8, I would have went with the ball. But a 138 is like, as I say, it's like there, there, and there. So I thought I'll get a big 18, leave 32, because I won't miss 32.
He must be brain dead from the neck up. The youngster that he's playing against, Deller, He's on the shot to win the championship. Eric says, oh, I'll go for an 18, leave 32 because that's my favourite double. Well, you're in the championship and you've got 50 left with a dart in your hand. You don't take that chance.
Keith requires 138.
Dangerous Bristow who's banking on Della not doing this, but the shot's on for the title. Double 12 for the title.
And he went out on 138 when Bristow had more or less told everybody that he didn't have a chance. He went and did it, basic. But you see, terrific, isn't it? Isn't that a great bit of sport, really? The viewers would be back for more the following year, wouldn't they, after that?
With over 9 million television viewers, darts was a rating sensation. He took off on a victory tour of the country with his manager, who believed that his young star had limitless marketing potential.
He could advertise anything from Johnson's berry powder to cocaine, but, you know, we're talking about that kind of range, you know, all over.
Clothes?
Clothes, sports equipment, food, soft drinks, breweries, anything.
And the trappings of fame brought him a new legion of followers.
Darts groupies are a new phenomenon in a sport where a man's prowess has usually been measured by the girth of his beer belly. Although it's probably heresy, Keith doesn't seem to mind the attention he's getting from women fans.
I just hope that Keith doesn't get big and fat with a because you know you're so lovely, and I've watched them over the year. You know, getting bigger, these guys who play darts. I'll keep an eye on you, I think.
One darts fan who had been keenly watching Della's rise was Martin Amis.
It's the drastic elevation into darts superstardom that made him come alive for me. And he says, I can handle it, you know, publicity, fame, I can handle it.
Amis was already drafting his new novel, London Fields, which was to explore the delirium of darts, as he put it. And in preparation, he hung out with Della, half expecting him to be sozzled in some roadhouse, smothered in tattoos and darts mags.
I met Martin in Enfield. It was in a wine bar. My wife Kim and I, and he walked in. He said, "What would you like to drink?" I said, "Can I have a sparkling water, please?" He had a pint or half a lager, and in them days you could smoke in the restaurants, and he had a roll-up. And he said, "I can't work this one out." He said, "There's you, Slim," he said, "and drinking mineral water. There's me with a fag on." You know, he said, "There's a wrong way round here."
Amis was to incorporate Keith's name and fame into his story of a young qualifier's rise to darting stardom. But his character, Keith Talent, owed as much to the author's own experience of the game.
A casual darter or arrow man all his life, right back to the bald board on the kitchen door. Keith had recently got serious. He'd always thrown for his pub, of course, and followed the sport. You could almost hear angels singing when, on those special nights, 3 or 4 times a week, Keith laid out the cigarettes on the arm of the couch and prepared to watch darts on television. But now he had designs on the other side of the screen.
And it was television, which had elevated the game and remained its lifeline, that now became the architect of its downfall. LWT had already dropped World of Sport, and by 1988, the director of programmes, Greg Dyke, decided to pull out of darts altogether, citing dwindling audience figures. The onus was now on BBC Two and its new controller, Alan Yentob.
What I would like him to assure the darts public is that they're not being marked down as unfashionable.
I have a schedule to fill, and I have to accommodate the other interests as well. So all I'd say to you is that be grateful that I'm not Greg Dyke, yes. And I will do my best. And don't imagine that I'm not interested in the broader responsibilities of running a channel and not simply in just putting on what I want.
A drop in TV coverage would mean a drop in prize money and far less exposure. But for Eric Bristow, there were more serious worries. He had been diagnosed with a debilitating condition called dartitis.
Dartitis is when you go up there, you go to throw a dart, and you pull it back like that. So you're just going like that, you go like that, and you lock. It locks, and you give it all this.
I used to sort of count how long it took for him to let his darts go, how many seconds it took to actually let his darts go. It was strange, it was a shame.
Usually, the problem has been letting it go, and if you watch it there, you watched it years ago, it was a lot more fluent.
Well, with the magic of our VT department, we can do that. You haven't seen it yet, but this is you in 1985 on the left and today on the right. And just watch how quickly you release this first arrow. We've timed it. We think you're about almost a second and a half slower. There, it's gone the first time in 1985. Is there a doubt? Something crops into the back of your mind?
There's no doubt. All I want to do is let the bloody thing go, and it's just stuck in my hand. Well, what can you do?
I saw shrinks and everything. You try anything. I tried fly fishing, because I thought that's an armed sport. It's in the grey matter, mate. Trying to be perfect, too perfect. Should have just let it go as it was. It was going nicely. You wanted to be better than what you are.
Maureen came up with a plan to help Eric combat his condition.
I said we should try and sponsor someone who's local so as he could practice with him. And hopefully then it would get Eric back to how he was.
Maureen's idea, but in the end, it was Maureen's idea. I started practising with people in the pub, and I played 4 hours in the afternoon and 4 hours at night to try and get rid of it.
And there was one local lad who fancied his chances at Eric and Maureen's pub, the Crafty Cockney.
Me and Yvonne went up the Crafty Cockney. I said, let's have a look, see what it's like, because we've never been in. And as it happened, Maureen and Eric were doing a little bit of an exhibition on stage against all comers, and just watched them. I remember saying to Yvonne, I said, I could beat them. And that's how we started.
Phil said, I'll play with you. I said, yeah, I've heard it all before. So he'd turn up in the afternoon, 4 hours, up in the night, 4 hours. He was here every day. And Maureen liked that, because it was getting me into darts again and trying to get out of it, because she knew what I was going through.
It gave him a new lease of life. He was loving it. It was something, it was like a hobby for him.
But the hobby became a business venture. In Taylor, Bristow recognised a hunger for success and an iron will to win, and he decided to take Taylor on as his protégé, sponsoring him for £9,000.
The condition with Eric was that I paid him back. So he would walk in a room. Even now, if I was sitting down in a room and he walked in, I'd get up and start practising. Because he would tell me off. He'd say, what are you doing sitting down talking to them? He says, well, they're not your friends. He'd say, you owe me 6,000, he knew every penny, £6,245.50, and you're sitting down talking. Get on that practice board. I was thinking, I'm going to pay him back. I am, I'm telling you.
He'd ring me up, say, I've done really well in this tournament. I've got beat in the final. I said, ring me up when you won. And I put the phone down and went.
I'd say, I lost in the final. I'd say, well, ring me when you win then. Bang.
That's the way I was. Don't tell me you're going runner-up. It's no good. Anyway, it toughened him up.
It had been 10 years since Bristow's reign began, and even hampered by dartitis, he was still at the top of the game. But there was now a new pretender waiting in the wings.
Eric had rang me and said, you've qualified for the World Championships. In your last place to get in. I think I was 32nd to get in.
Taylor coasted through the early rounds before crushing Big Cliff Lazarenko 5-0 in the semi-final.
I remember coming off stage, beating Cliff, going into the toilets, crying my eyes out. Eric come in, shut the door, come in. He's crying. We're both crying in the toilet, right? Got the door locked. And I looked at each other. I said, do you know where? He went, yeah. I said, well, what are we crying for then? He went, I don't know. And he won't admit it, but it's true. The big softy, we drew each other the final. He's learnt me, he's taught me, he's sponsored me.
Taught him too much.
Well, that might be the danger. Can the pupil beat the master?
I'm looking forward to it. It's been his little dream. Eric's dream as well as mine.
That's right.
But tomorrow is his nightmare.
It won't be.
But I did have that little thing in the back of my mind thinking, right, you, all them phone calls, all that time you told me I owe you money, I'm going to get you now.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The 1990 Embassy Final,
First set, first leg. Game on.
The unique Bristow stance, like a praying mantis. This is a slack opening leg by Phil. Yeah, double 10 for first blood.
Yeah! That's the first leg. Phil, you require 170.
The shot's on. Wants another 60. He wants the bull for the set. Brilliant! Phantasmagorical! Double 18.
That's the third leg. Eric Bristow.
Give him a sniff. He'll take a mile. Taylor is trying to save. Set 2.
140.
Double 16.
Yeah! That's the second set. Eric Bristow.
1 set each. The final cooking up well.
For 2 sets, Bristow remained in the hunt. But then Taylor unleashed his now legendary power.
Nice leg there.
180.
He wants tops for the set.
180.
Pixie's times, Taylor. Giving Eric pain.
Phil Taylor.
Bristow's won this trophy 5 times. What must be going on in Eric's brain here?
Double 16.
32.
That's been the story of this match. Double top for the title. Double 10. Oh, the pressure is there. Had his chance. Double 16. He turned round, he said, you should have took your chance, you're not champion yet.
Eric wouldn't give in. He hit a 180 and then he mumbled something at me.
He'll fight. Yes, still smiling.
Have that, you little shit, or something like that. You know what I mean? He would. That was Eric. And he would try every trick in the book to try and get at you.
But back comes Taylor. Oh, yes. He turns round to the crowd. 8 for him, they're loving it.
But that's Phil, and that's the sign of a good player. To hit a 180 after somebody's hit one, they think they're getting away with a leg, and he's just saying, you haven't gone anywhere, I'm still here.
18s for Bristow. Double 16.
And then all of a sudden he just swings the pressure. With him throwing 3 darts has made you a bit wary again.
He's missed the story of the match.
4 requires 49.
Will it be 17 or 9? We'll see. Double top, yes, for the title. Double 10. It's there! It's there! He jumps up, he shakes hands with Bristow. Bristow, the champion in the 80s. Phil Taylor there, the champion in the 90s.
He was absolutely brilliant. He came onto that stage, he took it over, and to be quite honest with you, what he's done for the sport, no one else can do. He's just fantastic, you know. And it needed that. It was at the time when it was needed.
Yeah, darts was on a decline then. It took me maybe 6 or 7 times being world champion to make a name for myself.
Taylor's rise had taken place against a backdrop of mounting unrest in the game. For the top players, dismayed by the drop-off in TV coverage and prize money and less exposure, it was the British Darts Organisation who were to blame.
We had a meeting with the BDO and they sent me in as a spokesman for the dart players. And I went in there from representing them and I said to Ollie, we've got 3 questions. First of all, I said, can you guarantee us more than 1 tournament a year on TV? He said no. I said, second one, would you mind if we run our own tournaments? Sky wanted to come in and we had contacts to run a tournament. And he said yes. And then my last question was, OK, if we did run our own tournament, what would happen? And he said, we'll ban you. So I said, thank you very much. That was the end of the meeting.
Well, if ITV and BBC were dropping it, there's nothing I could do except settle back. And these things don't happen overnight. You've got to plan it and work through it. But they weren't prepared to wait on that one. But I couldn't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee them at TV, unless the TV guaranteed it to us.
That was it. It was like a standoff. In our eyes, they weren't trying. You know, you've got to set the right people on. Ollie Crofted had it great. Ollie was great, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't the right man then. We needed, you know, professional people go out there and try and find it.
The band Players, 16 rebels, struck out, and in 1992 formed a breakaway organisation eventually called the Professional Darts Corporation. Since then, these two bodies, the BDO and the PDC, have coexisted, mounting their own rival world championships. Sky Sports, with its shiny, glossy graphics and slick American-style coverage, would resurrect darts on TV, giving the breakaway PDC the platform it needed.
It was great. It was like a breath of fresh air, with the music and flashing lights and the models walking on with us, you know, the bouncers round you, the crowd were right there all slapping you. I mean, we got jostled about a bit. You know, it was great. It was like a new beginning.
With darts back on the small screen, it's now coming to the big screen, in an adaptation of London Fields by Martin Amis. And for one of the film's A-listers, the author had some special advice.
There was talk of Johnny Depp playing Keith Tallant's deadly enemy, and I told one of the producers to have him hang out with Bobby George and use his actor's intuition, and that he didn't need to meet any other player. Bobby George would do it. More than any of them, he has that kind of carny glamour. And one gathers that he has lived the darts lifestyle to the full.
So I met this other actor, and he was Johnny Depp. I said, it's Christmas every day for me. He said, do what? I said, Christmas every day is Christmas Day. He said, what a lovely saying. Christmas Day is every day for me. Can I use that? I said, use what? That Christmas Day is every day for me. I said, yeah. And he had to say, this bloke interviewed him and said, are you going to win? Win? Of course I'm going to win. It's Christmas every day for me, innit? I taught him to swear in Cockney as well.
And as Hollywood delves into the smoky world of pubs, money racers and competition darts, the game's most famous player is back on the road, taking on all comers, and still throwing good arrows.
You got a beautiful chin. You got beautiful skin. You got a beautiful face. You got taste. You got beautiful eyes. You got beautiful thighs.
Oh yeah, I love darts. It's in me blood, mate. Yeah, be great to me. Darts. Oh. I died 10 years ago. It was great to me. So I'm on bonus time.
You won't stop talking. Why don't you give it a rest? You got more rabbit than Sainsbury's. This time you got it off your chest. Now you was just the kind of girl to break my heart in two. I knew right off when I first clapped my eyes on you.
If you want some great music to go with your arrows, just press red now for a rock special with Def Leppard on Sarah Cox's Sounds of the 80s. Here on BBC 4 next, we're going for romance in Verona with Francesco's Italy, top to toe.
May the darts be with you.